And so, yeah, then Singeli, BQN is the main use case for Singeli now. But I mean, more and more, I think like this is just the way to do low level programming. If you, and there's a huge caveat to this, which is that I think hardly anyone needs to do actual low level programming. Um, so I really don't like that, like the whole rise of Rust now has convinced people that you should be using a manually memory managed programming language for like anything, um, because it's just putting extra work on yourself for no reason. Like garbage collectors and all are fast and they work just fine. So you know, if there's a project where speed is not like the main priority, like if I mean even if speed is eventually going to be a priority, like you should probably implement your thing in a level language first, and then start building components in a low level programming language when you need to. Um, so really only a very small number of things need to have these specialized implementations. And I think what this kind of Rust phenomenon leads to is a lot of people are working in low level languages but not actually doing low level programming. Um, so I mean, if you write everything with like streams and stuff, it's like, sure, now you're programming at a higher level, but one, you still have various constraints from the programming from the lower level language that are pushing on you. And two, you're not going to get lower level performance because you're not actually giving the language any information um, about how to implement things quickly.
This is an interesting hot take, and it's actually echoed by Richard Feldman, the creator of the Rock programming language. He's on record saying, and Rock is implemented primarily in Rust. And he says, if he could go back a couple years to when they started working on this, he does love Rust as a language, but the complexity that has been added to the project because of the borrow checker and having to be aware of your memory lifetimes and whatnot for the memory lifetime profiles that the Rock compiler has, you're not actually getting a ton. And he says it's
yeah.
like the amount that he spent fighting with that for something that doesn't actually have a complicated memory profile. He said now he would have rather done something in Zig because he still needs the performance, but it's actually not that hard if your memory lifetime profiles are simple enough to kind of safely do that in Zig. And Zig has not the borrow checker, but a lot of safety stuff, bounds checking, etc. And his take is he still thinks the language is great, but a lot of people are reaching it for it when it's not necessarily the best pick. But there's a lot of hype, around, like you said, the rise of Rust, this phenomenon, if you will. So it's interesting to hear you say that because it's not the first time I've heard that now.
Yeah, well, in that case, is even different because that's like deciding between different low level languages. I mean, I'm saying if you want Rust, like, why not OCaml? Which is I think it's kind of strange how little it's used, but like, I mean, there are all these great high level languages that, and the functional programming languages typically have the the useful concepts of Rust already. I mean, they've got all this type system and stuff. You can do all sorts of safety things, but you don't have. I mean, you don't have Rust's memory safety because it's just garbage collection. Like memory safety is a completely solved problem if you're not trying to get maximum performance through managing all the memory yourself.
Right. And
And I mean, the cases where you need, like, even in low level programming, the cases where you need to manage all the memory yourself are not really that common. Like in a lot of cases, you're still going to be bound by computations that you're doing on large segments of memory that you've allocated. So, I mean, in those cases, like even Go would, I mean, maybe you'll be missing some faster operations. So maybe you'd want some kind of C# or Java thing.
yeah.
But like, yeah, the memory management is not the main benefit of low level programming, I guess I can say.
Yeah. Well, I guess yeah. You
Yeah.
made that point, but
Well,
you
and
were.
so
Or go ahead.
to point out where Singeli fits in this, Singeli is I mean, all these new low level languages are trying to, bring safety to the low level paradigm. And I mean, I kind of think of that like the best way to be safe is to use a high level language, period. I mean, low level programming is like, even if you fix the memory safety issues, like it's just harder and that causes you to make mistakes. So if you're, I mean, it's valid in some cases to try to get better performance with safety, and so Rust does have a place. Uh, but what Singeli is doing